94.3 The Dude is very grateful to our men and women in uniform. We're proud to recognize local members of our military by turning the spotlight on them right now in our Soldier Salute.
I'm your host, Sergeant First Class Retired Don Sorensen, and on today's Soldier Salute, we're speaking with United States Army Private First Class Mark Gordon. Mark, tell me about yourself.
Well, Don, I'm 26 years old. I'm married. I have a beautiful baby girl. She's 5 months. She'll be 5 months actually in 2 days. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I graduated from Thomasdale High School in 2011. I went to community college right after that, to John Tyler Community College. I left there with 51 college credits. My wife is actually from Richmond, Virginia as well. We actually went to the same high school. We met in high school. We didn't start dating until I went into college. She went to Norfolk State. I didn't finish getting my bachelor's degree, but she did. So we actually met when she graduated. I kind of knew I wanted to be in the military. I come from a military background with family. My uncle is in the Army. My dad was in the Air Force, and I have cousins in the Navy, a couple cousins in the Air Force. So heavily military background.
Mark, you went to basic training at 24 years old, man. That kind of makes you the old guy there. Tell me about that experience.
So when I actually joined, I knew I was coming in. I come in at 24 years old. I realized, okay, it was understandable because I went to school right after high school. I knew I wanted to join the military, but at the same time, I knew I wanted to go to school as well. So I figured I would go to school first, see how that's like, and go from there. But I realized that my life dream, I wanted to be in the military, more specifically the Army. So I decided after a year and a half being in college, I still had to go because I learned about being in the military and what the benefits that come with that, going to school. So I made that decision. I'm going to go ahead and join now versus later and still maintain my life dream. But at the same time, I can go to school later.
Mark, you were single when you went to Korea, but now here you are in beautiful Fort Jackson, South Carolina, a newlywed, man. You've got a wife and some kids. Tell me about that experience.
So realizing, because I met my wife after she graduated college, and I went to college. So I realized that after I came out orders going to Korea, I was going to be away from her, but we had the plan, say, okay, we get back, we're gonna get married and still keep my career going, keep your career going with, because being in the military, you realize you have to move a lot. But going to Korea, I knew that was a 1-year tour. So if I wanted to extend that, then we would have to be, I'd get married, and then that'd be, 2 years and everything like that. But my wife did not want to, at the time, she didn't want to come to Korea because she was very skeptical. First time being out of the country, it's like mine. Unfortunately for me, I didn't even have the choice. But it was interesting because I actually, when I got back from Korea, I could, explain to her, okay, this is what, it wasn't as bad as what you thought, and of course we kept in contact, FaceTime, call each other every day. So it's very interesting.
Mark, I find that it's a pretty common theme among my guests that they come from a really strong military background. The story's not so different with you, is it?
Growing up, it was difficult because they influence my decision as far as okay, I know I want to get into the military. I know I want to serve. I know I want to get that background, get that experience in being in the military. So it was difficult trying to figure out, okay, what was the best branch. You could consider the Air Force because that's the only branch that no one was in. Everyone else was in the Army and Navy. So, but my mom served. She served 12 years. My dad was in the Navy. He served, I believe, 18 years. It was interesting because you talk about being in the military and traveling to have to PCS, or changing duty stations a lot. They had to figure out, okay, are we going to go with what dad's orders say? Are you going to go with what mom's orders say? Who has precedence? Like I said, I've been all over the place. Like I mentioned, Japan. I've been to Japan. I've been to Germany. I was very young at those ages, so I really didn't know what was going on, but I knew the stories, and I just hearing, okay, where we've been to, Germany, Japan, and then relating that to my military career, going to Korea is I just continuing to feel the traveling everywhere. I'm just continuing that void. It's
Mark, a lot of my guests are enlisted folks, they've come into the military so that they can afford to go to college. You kind of did things a little bit backwards, though. You've already got some college credits, some college experience, and then you went into the Army. Tell me what your thinking is.
So talking to my parents, right after graduating high school, about the different opportunities that I was presented. I can either go to school or I could go, I could join the military. So I just decided to go to school. And then what I learned was I could join the military and have the military pay for school versus paying everything out of pocket or, solely relying on grants or, scholarships or anything. I could have the military pay for the schooling. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to join, because I could still serve, be in the military, and still go to school. And then I also being in the military, because I'm in the military now 2 years. I learned from going to overseas to coming back to the States to have different programs throughout the Army that help you go to school. And at the same time, you're still serving and going to school. But then at the end of that program, it's called Green to Gold, you can commission as an officer.
Mark, being a former enlisted man myself, I always had so much more respect for those officers that had been enlisted soldiers before they became officers. How do you think the experiences you're living right now are going to help you with this Green to Gold program and your future as a U.S. Army officer?
Well, Don, it's important to figure out the path that you want to take, because like the path I'm on now, I'm enlisted. What I want to do with that is I wanted to get the experience of being on the enlisted side, because a lot of what being in Army, you hear a lot of soldiers in the Army say, enlisted leads the way. It's not really. Of course, the officers are in command, but enlisted, they do more of the day-to-day operations. They get a task on like what I'm doing. I'm a 42 Alpha, which is a human resources specialist. I do a lot of tasking, actions, awards. I do finance and leave, get a lot of leave forms together, things like that. So it's important for me to get the experience on the enlisted level, so that when I commission and I want to be a human resources officer, I already have the enlisted experience, and I can bring that forward to taking command, because I already have the knowledge versus just having the degree and then commissioning but not really having the experience. I already have the experience as enlisted.
Mark, you hear a lot of young people today talk about the lack of opportunities out there, whether they're in the workplace or, maybe they're struggling with going to college. And so many of them think, I'm not 18. I'm too old to go to basic. But you joined at 24. What advice do you have for my listeners out there that may be facing that type of choice?
Well, Don, so one of the things I thought about joining the Army and joining the military in general was just, of course, I've heard about physical tests, the experience, the mindset that you may need to have before you join the military, because it's really not for everybody, but you can make it your goal if that's what you really want to do. So, after talking to the recruiters, they've kind of explained that, okay, even though I'm 24, there are a lot of 24, even men and women joining after even later than 24, 25, 26, 27, 30. So there's no age discrimination as far as joining, and being in the military there's a lot of opportunities. You get to experience, you get to do what you set out to do, and there's nothing holding you back other than you.
Thanks for joining us in our Soldier Salute, presented by Little Pigs Barbecue. Serving Columbia since 1963 with that bodacious buffet. And by Lexington Guns and Shooting Range, veteran owned and operated.